My mom used to say Bible verses sometimes to me. One of my favorites was when I would when I would be hungover.
Oh.
And I would. Congratulations on the album. It's really beautiful.
Thank you so much.
My understanding is that you had one vision for it and then it changed. So tell us what the vision was and then when the change happened.
Yeah, so initially Formed was supposed to be like a part 2 to my last project, which was called No Weapons. I put that in 2022, I believe. And it was just supposed to be like a continuation to kind of like finish that project because that project was pretty short. I think it was like 5 or 6 songs. And then at the end of 2023, I parted ways with my label, and so much changed at that time. And I was kind of like, you know what? Formed is about to become something different. Like I had a lot more to say, and so much more of my journey, like kind of started at that point. So it kind of just became its own thing entirely.
So the goal was originally, is it the same songs or was it?
Kind of. So a couple of the songs that were on it initially when it was a part 2 were still there.
Yeah.
Like I used those kind of as like the foundation to build the rest of the project.
Yeah.
But it just, so much time kind of passed between and such huge like life moments happened. So it was like, yeah, as much as this is called Formed, it doesn't feel finished as a part 2. Like it's got to be its own thing.
So you turned it into its own record. So that title Formed is interesting to me because it comes from your mom's favorite Bible verse.
Yes.
What's the Bible verse?
So it's no weapons formed shall prosper.
No weapons formed shall prosper.
And it's longer. There's the other half of it. But that's the part that always kind of stuck.
When would she say it to you?
All the time.
Really?
That was kind of like okay, you're stressed out with school. You're tired mentally. Somebody at work is trying you. Like it's literally like that universal scripture that she would use to constantly kind of, I guess, with me and my sister to kind of put us back into like a state of calm, because it's basically saying like nothing that anybody can throw at you or put in front of you can actually derail you from what you're supposed to be doing. None of these weapons will prosper. They can't stop you. They can't hurt you. So
it was a useful thing to hear, I guess, when you were going through all this. Mm-hmm. My mom used to say Bible verses sometimes to me. One of my favorites was when I would be hungover.
Oh.
And I would I'd come down the stairs hungover, and I'd be home for Christmas, and my mom would always say, "Well, the dead arose and appeared to many."
Oh, you know what? I like it.
It's certainly a different lesson from the Bible verse.
It, yeah.
Why was that Bible verse from your mom speaking to you at this particular moment?
I think, honestly, because there's a lot of weapons happening. You know what I mean? And life will always throw you kind of curveballs, and things will happen, and we don't necessarily know what tomorrow holds. But for me, I definitely didn't have in my head that, okay, you're going to be independent. You're going to switch your whole team out. You're going to kind of be going it alone, other than, of course, my husband, Yogi, the producer, and my manager right now. But there was nothing that could have prepared me for all of that to happen at the same time, So it's just a reminder to me that it's like, no matter what is thrown at you, you're going to figure it out. God got you, you got you, and basically my whole career prepared me for this moment.
When you just make the decision to go independent, and I want to be careful here because I'm always aware that when an artist is independent after working with a major label, there are things they can and can't say.
There's only so much you can say.
There's only so much you can say, and I understand that. So what I'll ask you is just tell me about that decision to go independent. Tell me what conversations you were having with your team.
Yeah, I think honestly it was pretty mutual. And initially when I was signed solely to Wanda, Boy Wanda, the most incredible producer and
songwriter,
my big bro, and changed my life. But towards the end of my deal, I was just directly signed to the label, and I just think it felt like it was time for me to spread my wings.
Yeah,
that's all. You know what I mean?
What's the biggest risk that you take when you decide to go independent?
Ooh. How much time do we got? I feel like it's like all of it is risk.
Tell me.
I think you have to be a little crazy to do it, but honestly, you're just betting on yourself when you go indie. Everything is from me. Everything is from my pockets. Anything you see us doing, we went out and bought a camera so that we could shoot our own visuals. We're really building this from the ground up. So we're talking about studio time, paying producers. Anytime you see me, any of this, hair, makeup, it's a very expensive thing to do. Mm-hmm. However, it's incredibly rewarding.
More rewarding?
I think so. Honestly, to be able to kind of like stand on your own too and do things exactly the way that you've envisioned doing them, there's kind of a sense of pride in that I don't think I could have had with so much like help,
Did you have moments where you thought you might not keep going?
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Did I? Honestly, part of the reason this project took so long to make was because I was like, I don't even know. Like that SpongeBob meme where it's like just blurry around him and he just feels like anxiety. Like that's how it felt for a second, because I was like, whoa. I know we chose to leave the label. Then I switched out my team, that I've had my whole career. It was just a lot at once. And that was maybe 2023. And I ended up using that whole year to just breathe. And
was there a moment where you went, maybe I'll go, did you have a backup plan that you were thinking of? Like maybe I'll go do something else? No,
honestly, unfortunately, I have only ever wanted to do this, wasn't good at nothing else, none of these other jobs.
I love unfortunately in there.
Unfortunately, I had some jobs. I used to work at the bank. I used to do all this stuff, and I was just never a good employee at anything other than this. So for me, it was always this, but I definitely knew that I needed to take a beat and figure out where I'm at, how I'm doing, like even mentally with everything, and just really assess what it is I did want going forward. Like, do I want to go sign again? Do I want to try this independent? The world was my oyster at that point, but I really wanted to kind of take a second to like think about it.
I think you live in a time in 2025 when there's never been a better time to be an independent artist. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I just talked to an artist. No shade to labels at all, but I just talked to an artist like maybe a couple of hours ago who had like a guy in the Counting Crows, like a huge record label deal in the mid 90s. I mean, it's a very different world now. And just more you can find a lot of joy and autonomy in being independent.
Absolutely.
Let's listen to some music.
See, I know that I'm not innocent. Got me holding on to pride. I can learn to
That is Savannah Ré with Blank Space from her new album, Formed. Great song.
Thank you.
I hope you take this in the best way possible. I feel a little different than what I've heard from you in the past.
Yeah.
How did that song come together?
Blank Space, initially when we did it, I did it with Child, who's incredible producer, artist, writer, instrumentalist, and he's actually from Montreal as well. And we were in LA at the time, and he reached out to me to do a song for his project. And I was like, sure, like I love your music. It's very alt, different music.
Experimental a little bit more. Yeah.
But so cool.
Yeah.
So we got in the studio and I was even a little nervous because I was like, what we finna sound like together? I don't know, like, you know what I mean? I make a little bit more traditional R&B. And we got in there. It was me, Child, and Yogi. And he started playing out these like synths and like this cool stuff. And immediately it was, how can I deny the elephants? And I was like, okay, we can blend these things. Like I can still do what I naturally do over what he naturally does. And I think it just made this like really crazy, cool, majestic record.
Does that feel like something you can put out now that maybe you... Again, we have to be careful what we talk about, what we don't talk about. But I also know that there are times in your career, regardless of who you're with,
exactly,
where you feel like you have to be something for somebody, or you have to fit into a certain kind of box.
Yeah.
Am I onto something that's the kind of song you can put out now?
You absolutely are. Yeah. So honestly, like the boxes that I felt like I was in, they technically have nothing to do with anybody else, because it's you, it's your mind, it's what you feel like you have to do. So
what did you feel like you had to do for yourself? What did you feel like you had to do?
Just be that like archetype of R&B. Like, okay, you're a Black woman from Scarborough. You have to do I hate this word, but what's categorized as urban. But in reality, I have a ton of influences, like rock music, alt music. I went to an art school. So there's a lot of like even creative modern, which is world music. And I guess you kind of end up putting these pressures on yourself that are not true. It doesn't exist. Because realistically, you can do whatever you want. And that was, to me, that's what I was like, wait a minute. Why am I worried about genre? You know what I mean? It's like, it's still, it depends who you talk to. Some people consider this artist R&B, but I say another person won't consider that artist R&B. So it's very subjective.
You had sort of constraints put on yourself because this is what an R&B artist is supposed to look like, sound like, the kind of music, talk like. This is what R&B is supposed to be. When was the first moment you said, maybe I can be who I want to be? Maybe I can be anything.
As a writer, I've been writing different music. Like for a long time.
Yeah, I know that about you.
And then two summers ago, I did a record with Fifi Dobson. And that was where I was like, you know what? Fifi doesn't fit no molds.
Yeah.
And she's been unapologetically herself as well.
Black woman from Toronto.
And Scarborough. She's from Scarborough too. Scarborough. That makes like rock, alt, pop music. And I remember at the time I was like, we should reach out, but is she gonna be like, why would I I was nervous to reach out even to do a record. And she was like, absolutely, let's do it. And like, we're super tight now since we made that record. But that session was very freeing to me as an artist because it's literally like a rock song. Like, it's a rock song. And we both float on it so well. Like, she's on there as her, I'm on there as me. And I think it like definitely opened my horizons to the fact that I can do whatever I want to do as an artist,
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Let's listen to another song on the record.
Give me your glory. Every time you put your hands on me.
It's a nice chord there, hey? Play a little bit more.
That guy over there.
Oh yeah? Great chord. Great chord. Woo! That's real. I first time Vanessa. So when I checked out the record, Vanessa was producing the piece. Said,
"Yeah,
it's great. It's a great record. Blah, blah. Check out that song, Glory. I think I got that song, Glory,
yeah.
And it's a jam, man. Tell me about that song.
Thank you. Yeah, Glory. So the way I always tell people, like when they ask what my songwriting process is, I don't really have one. I genuinely feel like I'm a vessel. Like I feel like things channel through me when it's time to make a song because I can't tell you how we got from no song to this, and Glory was kind of just like how, when Yogi and I get together, that's pretty much how we work. We just sit down in the studio and decide what we want to do. But with Glory, I had something in my head. It wasn't a melody. It wasn't like a song fully, but just the word glory was just like replaying in my head. And then I was hearing bass. So I was like, babe, like boom, like, boom, which we speak our own language. People say that when they see us in the studio because I don't know how he deciphers what it is that I want or hear, but immediately as I did that, he played that bass line, doom, da-doom, doom, doom, doom. And then I was like, okay, load me up. Like, I need to go in the booth. He also records me as well and mix this whole project. So I was like, I need to go in the booth right now because I started feeling it sort of like permeate. It's such an interesting feeling because it's like, I don't know what I can compare it to, but it just feels, it's almost like I need to say it. Like I need to get it out.
A melody, top line, or words and everything?
All of it, everything. I freestyled that entire song.
You're kidding me.
I swear to you, the entire song. Like right after he had the bass line, he was basically trying to tell me like, okay, just wait a sec because he wanted to put some like chords in.
Yeah.
But I was like, put me in the booth immediately because what happens as well is as soon as I get it out, I forget.
Honestly, what do you think that is?
I think it's God.
Yeah?
I think it's God. I think it's one of those things that you just can't explain. I don't really have the words for it. And that's not what happens every time. Like there's also going to be times where I'm sitting down, trying to write a song for a year. But Glory is not one of those. I literally was like maybe 3 a.m., went in the booth, and the vocals you hear, kind of that scratchiness is because it was so late at night, but I needed to get it out. And I actually tried because I was like, some of these moments, some of these notes, some of this scratch, like as a singer, I was like, I want to try and deliver them again. I tried, and it just didn't have that same like raw energy as when we did it the first time.
That's a take?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No,
wow.
that's the take.
That's a take?
That's the take. I went in and I think I fixed like a couple lines in the second verse. I like added doubles on the chorus, but that muscle lucky 7, that's all like as I was doing it. So I think that record is like a good example of like the synergy that myself and Yogi have. Like it was just...
Two things on that. One, you're a great singer. One take on that's pretty wild.
Thank you.
And I mean, you're a great singer anyway. Two, God love you. I mean, I know I have a friend of mine who's married to their musical partner as well. They tour a lot. And I had another friend of mine say to me, I don't know how I could never do that. You know, you just be, and, good on you for, good on you. Like not everyone can have a good, beautiful musical partnership with their partner. You know?
No, I know. And listen, so many people are like, you work with? I was literally at the dentist like last week. And she was like, so you're a musician, like, da-da-da. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, my husband is my producer. She was like, you work with your husband? She's like, oh, I tried working with my husband and it almost led to divorce. And I was like, girl, listen, we ain't got those problems, thank God. I always say, I think for us, it's because we started, that's our foundation.
Yeah.
We started as friends and like musical partners first, before subsequently falling in love. So I think we kind of have that mutual respect for each other. And neither of us are people that come with like tremendous ego or anything, but we're really able to leave that at the door.
Beautiful. Can I ask you about this Drake thing that I'm hearing about with you?
Oh man, yeah, of course.
This is wild. So for people who don't know, Drake puts out this like I guess it's a collection.
I don't know what to call it. Yeah,
I wouldn't call it an album, but like a something.
Yeah,
a collection of a bunch of music online. Because it's called 100 Gigs is the record.
Yeah,
and then he puts out a website with the samples he was using.
Yeah, exactly.
And this like essentially like a hard drive online of samples and videos of him in the studio and unreleased beats.
Yeah,
and then you find
myself. So yeah, we were in the studio at the time because I was working on this project.
Yeah.
And of course, we just start seeing the internet go crazy. So we're just seeing like 100 gigs. So obviously we're huge Drake fans. So we're like, oh, like let's go look at what everybody's talking about. Da da da. So we click it and we're like, this is interesting. It's like files or whatever. And the first one we see is Boy Wonder. So of course we're gonna click that.
Boy Wonder, we just had him on the show about 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah. He was wonderful. And then I mean, again, I'll say one of the greatest producers and songwriters in Canadian history
of all time.
Work by Rihanna, Best I Ever Had, Drake. I mean, we could keep going and keep going forever.
Yep.
But anyway, so you see Boy Wonder. You see his name. You click on it.
Click on it. We click a video. First video, me. First video is my voice. So I'm like, what? I'm like. So he turns around because he's at the control desk. We look at each other immediately.
Your husband does.
Yeah, Yogi turns around. He's at the control desk, looks at me. I look at him. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. We're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And immediately we call Wanda because we're assuming he probably knew about this. And he's like, what are you even talking about? Like he was on road. He didn't even know about this 100 gigs drop. And I'm like, you have a folder. And he's like, oh, well, that makes sense. But he didn't even know. And then I'm like, the first thing that we click is me. And he's like, well, duh, I told you. Like, he's told me in the past, he will use a lot of the samples or sample my voice or cut different things and send them to Drake or send them for Drake. But it's totally different to see it actually happening. Yeah. And this particular song was even crazier because it's a song called Sex with My Ex. And that was already going to be on my project.
Yeah, that's on this new record as well.
Right. So it was already going to be on it. So the alignment almost confused me because I was like, ooh, what does this mean? Because nobody knows what it means. Like, is this a precursor? Are you going to put it out? Are you going to use it? Can I use it? It just raised so many questions.
Did you get any answers?
Not really.
Did you end up talking to Drake about it at all? Did you ever say,
Wanda was just like, I think he went and spoke to him about it, and he was just like, no, you're good. Like, you can still put it out. Because at the end of the day, normally samples are samples of songs that are out. Yeah. So it wouldn't, even if he chose to use it later, it wouldn't really,
Still pretty cool, though.
Very cool. And the song was also a freestyle. Sex with My Ex was a freestyle. And I did that in 2018 with Yogi. He produced what's on the sample. And then he chopped the sample and said it to Wanda. And it's like one thing with Wanda is he is literally, obviously, the most humble guy I've ever met of his stature ever. But he's always working on so many things. So you could send something and be like, oh yeah, probably didn't do it. And then, a month later he'll be like, yeah, Drake just cut a record on this. And So that was honestly really, it was a nice moment. It was affirming. And then like the last video is the one where they're in studio together.
Yeah.
And he goes to Wonder, he's like, who is this? And then he said Savannah Ré. And he was like, Drake was like, oh, Savannah Ré. And I was like, see, I knew you knew me. I knew you knew who I was.
This is making me think I got to stop texting Wonder and start sending him voice memos.
That's it.
Because really, I have an opportunity to make a considerable amount of money here.
You do?
If I can just, because here I am saying, hey, what's going on? Hey. And I should be really singing it to him.
Yeah, hey. Or even say, he'll chop it up. You never know.
I can finally quit this job. Get out of here. Make some real money. Savannah, we're gonna go out on. They're gonna cut that out.
Oh yeah.
And then they're gonna chop it and screw it. We're gonna go out on "Made It Out" from the album. I love the song. Talk to me. It feels like you're talking about some of the things we talked about so far in this conversation. You in the past. Am I right about that?
Yeah. 100%. Honestly, "Made It Out" is. I say this about a lot of the songs on the album, but it's like an autobiography. It's like about me. And the whole thing with my music and my project that I like to do is I want folks, especially folks that look like me, to see themselves in me and see that if I can do any of this stuff, you can do it as well.
So what's the story you're telling?
Honestly, just that you don't have to change who you are. Like I learned that what makes me different is my superpower. And my upbringing is not just because of where I came out of, that doesn't dictate where I can go. So I think that's kind of the whole thing with it. And for me, I wear Scarborough on my back. Like I would never change my journey.
I know you corrected me so fast with Fifi
I was
Dobson.
like, Scarborough. She's from Scarborough?
The word Toronto wasn't halfway out of my mouth.
Scarborough. Yeah. I claim our folks, know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'm just getting started. And, this is my third project.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are calling it an album. And I think it's because it says on Spotify. But to me, it's a project. Like this isn't my first album, So I'm just trying to grow with everybody. And I hope that even though it's different, it's a lot different than my other music, I'd say, that they can still see the essence of me, Savannah Ré, the artist, and are open to those changes and that growth.
My take on this, for what it's worth, which is not that much, is that the one thing the audiences know more than anything, especially in 2025, is they can sniff authenticity out like a bloodhound. They can tell when you're faking it even a little bit. And I think this is the most honest record you've ever made. I told you before, and I'll say it on air, it's my favorite record you've ever made. But I think people are going to hear exactly what you're talking about.
I hope so. And I feel like it's honestly, the sleepless nights, all of it, it becomes worth it once you see how a project is able to impact others. And it's been overwhelmingly positive. And I think that's really what's keeping me going right now, because people are really resonating with the music. And to bring it back to Made It Out, I made it out, and it's fun, it's gritty, but it also is just like, hey, whatever it is you're doing, whatever you got to do to get it out the mud, you do that. And don't let nobody judge you. It ain't nobody business what you had to do to get here, but you did it. So that's really it.
You made a great record. Congratulations on
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.